Hey all! Amanda back again with your results from American Ninja Warrior Season 15, Episode 2, Round 3. This episode was only an hour in length, but man, did it pack in the action. The 6 obstacles for the Round 3 qualifiers included the pole vault, which led into the roller coaster. The balance obstacle this round was changed to the log runner, and the 4th obstacle was yet another new event called Kite Surfer. In Kite Surfer, the athlete must jump to grab the small tip of a triangle and kip down the edges as the angle widens. They then must jump a small gap with their hands to another small triangle, starting at the wider edge and shrinking towards the end. Then competitors must lasso to a bungee cord that will drop under their weight. They must then build momentum to swing to another small triangle, catching the smaller point first and kipping down as it expands. Again, they must use their hands to jump a small gap before grabbing the wider edges of yet another large triangle and kip down as it decreases in size before jumping to the landing platform. These kite-shaped triangles also tilt to either side, making balance and timing crucial. We then had the lasso launch, where ninjas have to catch an object that they're calling cows, hence their design, that have a right cradle near the bottom, where athletes must use an open-ended rope to hook these cradles. They must lasso with this rope to the first cow, turn it 180 degrees, then lasso to a second cow, turning that one 180 degrees, then lassoing to the landing platform. This leads to the warped wall. This season, athletes must hit a buzzer in under a minute 20 seconds to earn a shot at scaling the newly increased mega wall, now standing at 18.5 feet. Should they hit that buzzer, they win $10,000. As well, the men in 12th and 13th place on the leaderboards face off against each other for the final spot. The one who completes the course first, or goes the furthest the fastest, advances to the semifinals. The women in the 4th and 5th position do the same. As for the competition itself, it's no surprise that Daniel Gill topped the leaderboard. After taking last year off, he showed that he was still a force to be reckoned with. He ran the course effortlessly and hit the buzzer with a time of 1:15.91, earning his shot at the mega wall. He scaled the newly increased mega wall and earned $10,000 and advanced to the semifinals. Up next was the big dog Jody Avila, and the only other competitor to hit a buzzer this round. Being 6'6" had its pros and cons for him this round, as his feet almost hit the water when he transferred to the bungee cord between kites on Kite Surfer, but then easily reached out to grab the second kite and get his feet on the landing pad. He hit the buzzer with a time of 2:05.03, advancing to the semifinals, but unfortunately missed his chance at the mega wall. Flyboy Isaiah Thomas had his run digested, where he made it as far as lasso launch before the rope slipped off the first cradle before he had time to lasso. He took 3rd place, and I expect big things from him in the semifinals. 15-year-old Joseph Rouse also had his run digested. This rookie made it as far as lasso launch, where he missed the backwards lasso between cows. He took 4th place. Next on the leaderboards, and next to be digested, Isaiah Wakeham shared his brief run recap with his sister Isabella. They both had strong runs, and both made it as far as lasso launch, where both of them fell, making the transfer between cows. Isaiah tried the lasso backwards, whereas Isabella tried it face on. Isaiah took 5th place on the men's leaderboard, and Isabella took 1st place on the women's board, and both will be heading to the semifinals. Grant Kinningham was next to have his run digested. Grant lives with Daniel Gill, and was able to make it as far as lasso launch, where he was unable to make the final lasso to safety. Grant sits in 6th place overall. After taking the last 3 seasons off, 6-time veteran Ian Dory made his return, only to have his run digested. He too made it as far as lasso launch before his rope slipped off the last cradle before making his dismounting lasso. Luckily, he advanced to the semifinals, taking 7th place. Another athlete returning after taking last season off, Grant McCartney, was back and actually really got me during his run. For those who have been following my recaps over the years, will know that Grant's dancing during the course always bugs me. It's not that I don't like him having fun, but too many seasons I've seen him just miss out on advancing due to too long of a runtime. I always thought he could hit buzzers if he didn't spend so much energy entertaining. He seemed slightly more focused as his run started, so I got really worried when it looked like he injured something after speeding across Log Runner. He leaned over as if he had pulled something, but then popped his butt and started twerking. I was so caught off guard that I had to break out laughing. After that, like Jody Avila, Grant's feet almost hit the water when swinging on the bungee in between kites on Kitesurfer, but somehow managed to grab the last kite after having to take numerous swings to build momentum. He then lassoed the first cow way too high, twisting the rope above and behind the cow's head. He was unable to jump the rope high enough to clear the way for the lasso, causing him to let go of one side of the rope, sending him to the water below. Grant sits in 8th spot and will be heading to the semifinals. 25-year-old TikToker SIMBA Jones had a close call on the pole vault and a hard landing after the log runner. He was able to make it to the Kitesurfer, but was unable to hang on to the bungee cord in the middle. He took 9th place. Elijah Levy, who rehabilitates animals, was next to have his run digested. He just made it to Kitesurfer, but his hand slipped off the edge of the first kite. He sits in 10th spot. DEION BUTLER had his run digested, even though he had a great save on Log Runner, where he almost wiped out, but was able to flip himself right side up and jump to the landing pad. Unfortunately, he was unable to hold on to the first kite on Kitesurfer and hit the water. DEION sits in 11th position. Firefighter and amputee Gary Whelan, who lost his leg from the knee down in 2018, returned for his second season and was probably the greatest run of the night. Last year, after tripping in Log Runner, he fought for over a minute to recover, but ultimately hit the water. This year, deja vu seemed to be happening as Gary yet again tripped trying to cross Log Runner. He fought for several minutes, trying to balance his hands and feet on the 3rd and 4th logs when he finally steadied himself for a jump and reached the landing pad face first. Akbar freaked out so much that he kicked over a chair and almost fell headfirst from his perch. Unfortunately, Gary grabbed the first kite slightly unevenly, sending him to the water below and landing him in 12th position, meaning he would have to face the runoffs. James THORWART had his run digested, where he had a similar fate to Gary. James too tripped on the 3rd log of Log Runner, and after a minute of struggling to right himself, his feet got too low and touched the water, ending his run and landing him in 13th position, meaning he would have to face off against Gary for a final spot on the leaderboard, advancing to the semifinals. The runoffs this round consisted of the following 4 obstacles. We had the return of home run, which was this time followed by the flying shelf grab, which consisted of 3 shelves. The Beehive returned as the 3rd obstacle, and the course this round ended with sideways. James took an early lead as Gary had to take his time jumping from base to base on home run. And though James took a moment before jumping to the first shelf, his hand slipped and he hit the water. All Gary had to do now was complete the flying shelf grab and he would advance to the semifinals. Gary was able to complete the flying shelf grab and almost made it through Beehive, but as he was building momentum to lasso from the 2nd to the 3rd honeycomb, one of his hands slipped and he was unable to recover. Gary Whelan is heading to the semifinals, and I think everyone will be cheering for him. As for the women, as mentioned above, Isabella Wakeham had her and her brother's runs digested, where they both made it to lasso launch. Isabella sits in 1st place on the women's leaderboard. 15-year-old rookie Madeline Medeiros is a certified genius and showed great strategy getting through the course. She made it all the way to lasso launch, but missed hooking the backwards lasso and hit the water. Madeline sits in 2nd spot on the leaderboards. CAILIN Jewell had her run digested, where she tripped on the 3rd log of Log Runner and hit her shin hard before hitting the water. She was able to lock in 3rd place in the rankings. Sandy Zimmerman returned for her 7th season, and with such a hype up before her run, but knowing that there was not much time left in the episode, I had a bad feeling about her run before it even started. And I was right to worry. Sandy got tripped up between the third and fourth log on Log Runner and hit the water, landing in fourth spot on the leaderboards, and therefore heading to the runoffs for final spot. Lindsay Darling was the woman who landed in fifth place, and was the one to face off against Sandy in the runoffs, though her run was completely cut. Apparently, she too made it to the Log Runner. The ladies wished each other luck at the start of the run, but shortly after they began, like in the previous 2 rounds, Lindsay got tripped up on the steps of home run and fell into the water. Once Sandy landed safely through home run, she had advanced, but Sandy was looking for redemption from the early exit that landed her here. Sandy was close to completing the course, making it halfway through sideways before missing the middle transition and hit the water. Sandy advances to the semifinals. Other athletes that ran this round but did not advance include Nolan Ward, who tripped over the third log of Log Runner, and veteran Sam San, who did a 180 on the last log of Log Runner, ending his season. Both of these runs were digested. Heather Nelson had her run digested, where the bar fell off the second track of Roller Coaster, sending her into the water, and Megan Johnson, who had her run digested, when she was unable to climb the pole fast enough and hit the water before she could reach the landing platform of pole vault. She is the girlfriend of Kyle Soderman. It looks like 7 other men and 1 other woman ran, but whose runs were completely cut from the show. I also saw Kid Owati on the sidelines during Grant McCartney and Daniel Gill's run. I don't know if he was just there to cheer on his friends, or if he'll be running this season. If so, I have to wonder if he ran this round and didn't do well, hence having his run cut. I hope he is back to compete, and then we'll get to see him later this season, but to find out for sure, make sure not to miss a single episode of the action. Check out American Ninja Warrior every Monday this summer on NBC, and make sure to come back here shortly after for your complete recap. And as always, feel free to leave your thoughts on this season below, including who you would like to see take it all this year on American Ninja Warrior Season 15. So until next time, enjoy the show!